Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Mannino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Michael Mannino to Unscripted Podcast, and I'd like to introduce you my good friend and our first interviewer, my good friend, George Johnson. He's a financial advisor. He does a lot of, I can't explain what he does. This is what really the podcast is for. You can have people invest in stocks and save them from the downside, which really is probably one of the few things that most people can't do. Most people go into the stocks and ride the ups and rides the downs. So if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself, tell me about your company, and tell me what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. First and foremost, this is a pleasure to be here. And again, I mirror the same sentiments. We've been good friends for a long time in karate. You're my master in karate, and wonderful to work with you because of your discipline, your transparency, and your ability to fight. I love that. So some things that I do. My name is George Johnson. I'm a financial advisor, investment advisor. I do a number of other things as well, tax strategies here in Rochester, Michigan. And I've been doing this for 22 years. My company is V8 Investment Advisors, like V8 the engine. I work in Detroit, so V8 engines are kind of a cool thing here. And there just happens to be 8 areas that we talk about in terms of our company. So we say we want to make sure that all 8 cylinders are firing. So we'll get into that in a minute. Well, okay. So personal, yes, I will have been married in 7 days for 30 years. So
the anniversary is coming up.
Congratulations. The anniversary is coming up. So,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. My wife and I have 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy, and absolutely the best thing in the world. When you have kids, your life goes from black and white to color, and it's so fun. It's so fun to be their parents. And let's see what else. Like to play guitar. I've got a small fortune in guitars and playing in bands, surfed, a lot of other things. So it's been kind of a fun ride.
Awesome. So one of the first questions is one I definitely wanted to ask you is, there's a lot of competition in your space. You know, I've heard a lot of good and bad about brokers, and I want to know what sets you apart. You know, what comes easy to you and is challenging to everybody else.
So the thing that sets me apart is, I'll tell you what sets me apart, but first let me set the scene. Okay, think of a gunslinger. Think of 2 gunslingers. Both of them are walking around in the Old West. One of them was given his father's gun, and it had 6 bullets in it, a nice 6 gun, and he walked pretty cocksure, and he was pretty happy, and everybody respected him. Then think of another gunslinger who didn't want his daddy's gun. He went out and found himself the latest and greatest gun, and he didn't want just the same old gun, the bullets that his daddy had, and he wanted to go out there and improve on that, and was constantly looking for the best bullets to go in his gun just in case and just because. That's kind of the situation out there. You've got gunslingers out there who have old tools. They have old ways of doing things. They have old ideas that they've been told that this is going to work. And they do. They do work. Then there's guys like me that are passionate about finding strategies and tools and ideas and bringing those to clients. So as you mentioned a minute ago, one of the things that we offer is we do a number of types of accounts that offer guarantees. So it allows you to invest in the market, but they're not all annuities. A lot of people would jump to the conclusion that we offer just annuities. No, we offer structured notes, structured CDs. We do offer annuities, indexed annuities that are linked to the market. And the reason is people don't like to hang out in the wind anymore. They don't like to twist in the wind when the market crashes. So we can get into that in a minute, but that's part of what we do. We also have a number of different tax strategies. I'm not a tax advisor, but I've got guys on my team who also do tax strategies. And then on top of that, I do financial planning. and I'm pretty good at it. I've worked at 5 prominent credit unions in Michigan, and have literally met with thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of families, helped them put together financial plans and make money and avoid debt, and really made some big differences in their lives. So when you ask me what my advantages or what it is that I do that's different, first off, I'm passionate about finding the best tools for people. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. And the second thing is I've got the experience just slugging it out in a credit union to try to get the best things for people, and doing that on a day-to-day basis, and doing it in most cases for free, not getting paid anything by the credit union or anything. So it's been a passion of mine. And I think people see that and they feel that when they meet with me.
Yeah. You love helping people.
I do.
I have to say that's probably your superpower.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Talking superpowers. That's awesome. Yeah.
There's a lot of competition in your space. A lot of competition.
Yeah.
When you show your superpower, when you're showing your superpower, what would you suggest? What tips would you give somebody that's young that would want to get your superpower? What would they have to do? Would they have to go to Krypton, or what would they have to do?
I'm going to be honest that the first few years of doing this, I wasn't 100% sold that this is what I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
Well, I mean, I went and got my master's degree in business administration, thought I was hot stuff for a few years, and had a really hard time finding a good job. Most of them said, well, we don't want to pay you what MBAs get paid for. We'd rather hire somebody who can walk in and roll up their sleeves and get things done from an experiential standpoint. And so I took being a financial advisor for the first few years just to be like, well, I can do this. This is something that's interesting to me. But at the same time, as time went on, I started managing my parents' properties. I managed their portfolios. I managed my some other friends' portfolios and helped out with improving their real estate. And I started to get into financial planning on the side, and then finally married the two together, working. And it was just kind of a weird thing. And I finally woke up one day and just said, this is what I want to do. But the thing that got me to that was just I kind of backdoored into it because I didn't really mean to be there. But the thing that got me to that point was there's no other way to get through the day than just getting up and putting on your shoes and getting in the car. It doesn't matter how much you cuss. It doesn't matter how much unhappy you are. It doesn't matter what your commute is. You got to put in the time, and you have to avoid distractions because they're cancer. You have to avoid drama. You have to let things go. And after a while, you get into a rhythm. And every time you do something right and it jives with your soul, that you put in a hard day, that you didn't say you put in a hard day, but that you didn't, but you actually put in a hard day. I think of it as a thin layer of concrete is now under my feet. And the next day, if I do that again, another thin layer and another thin layer. And after a few months of that, you start to kind of jump up and down and say, well, I'm no longer just, treading water or standing on quicksand. I've actually got a good foundation. And the longer that you go, the longer that you do that, the better you feel. Because everybody stands if you're talking to young people, everybody at some point stands at a crossroads and says, I could be a really great musician, in my case. I'd love to do acting. I'd love to work for a company and be their CFO, or I'd love to do this, or I'd love to do that. And the moment you choose and you go down one direction, you leave all those behind. And so you hear the distant echoes of things saying, well, you could have done this. Well, you should have took this. Well, you should have took that. The hardest thing for me to do was to just choose something and continue to do it until I really got to it. And then the crossroads, the calls of the crossroads, like you could have been this, you could have done that, became much more faint. So that's hopefully answering your question.
It did. The two things I take away from that is, just doing it every day.
Yep.
My son said it best. He goes, how do you become successful? He goes, put your pants on and go to work.
That's right.
Really, really powerful stuff. That's great. Thank you. So I want to know, like, what is your biggest challenges? What do you have to overcome in your career right now?
Biggest challenges. The first one is earning people's trust, because there's so many people out there. I mean, this would be an easy game if I could just walk in and say, swallow this pill and you'll have 100% trust in me or something like that. It doesn't happen that way. And it takes the right types of relationships, are not the one where you come in and say, come on, let's get this thing done, sign the paper and get out. Let's go. The best types of relationships, the ones that wind up being the most beneficial, are the ones that take time. So the first thing I would say in this industry is getting trust, is to having credibility, is to having experience, is to be able to talk. All of that builds the trust, so that somebody walks in and says, yeah, I can see that you've got degrees on the wall. I can see that you have a brick and mortar. I can see that you're here 9 to 5. When I call you, you answer your phones. And that all lends to it. And then having really great ideas and being able to empathize with people. So that's, first off, I think, is trust. The second thing is that I'm a salesman. I mean, I'd love to sugarcoat that, but people distrust. That goes back to trust, I guess. But there's a lot of people out there that have done a lot of damage in the industry. And so I've got to overcome that as well. That's still trust I get. There's also education. You need to educate yourself. I've seen far too many portfolios. People will bring me their portfolios and I'll look through them. I'm like, who put this together? This is terrible. I mean, I hate to say it. I hate to say that about another financial advisor, but I'll look at them and I'll just say, these aren't performing the way you think they are. These are old. These are outdated. So you got to keep on top of things. You got to keep educating yourself. You get not just the continuing education that they require, but you got to want to provide clients the best possible service as if you were in their shoes. And that's hard to do, because it would be easy to just sell something to somebody and say, now get out of my office or whatever. I guess it's easy for some people. For me, I want to disclose everything. They come in, I want to sit down and say, here's a problem with this, but this is what it could really do well for you. This is a problem with this, but I see that there's some real benefits here for you. And that's hard on me, because I'm telling people up front what the problems are, rather than having them figured out on their own, or have it be or not telling them or whatever. And there's plenty of advisors out there that are just willing to tell you all the best parts and say, yep, sign here, and we'll take care of it.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah. Well, and see, this would set you apart. I love that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like things are going pretty good for your business. Looking forward to the future, wondering, what do you tell how do you advise people on passive income, and what's your investment path for that?
I love that. So as part of a financial profile, a portfolio, I love the idea of having passive income. It's just like having an oil well, or, an oil derrick in your basement, just kicking out.
Terry, I like that. That's a great. Yeah, that's going to be the name of the podcast. Or,
right. It's like, hey, come down to my basement and you flip it, and there's this
oil there. It's pumping, keep pumping crude to your office.
I love keep pumping crude. Exactly. Yeah, passive income is important. Anybody who's read Kiyosaki knows this. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That you don't want to always work for someone else. You want to work at some point. It makes more sense to work for yourself. You don't want to give your money to somebody else and have them necessarily do what they want to do with it. You got to have it yourself. And if you can find something like an oil derrick, or maybe rental properties is a great one. We've owned rental properties, had some real successes there. A patent. Some people will have a windmill on their property, or an oil derrick on their property, and they're just making money that just comes in, and it's uninterrupted. And it's like having a zero cost assistant just continuing to pump money for you. But those don't fall out of the trees. You have to earn them, create them, or buy them. Yes. And that's a challenge. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that's what we do. We do passive income. We invest mostly in apartment complexes or new builds or something like that. because every month money's coming in. The best way I describe it, I love the oil derrick. That's going to be the name of the pod. That's going to be the title to the podcast. But I say the same thing in a different way. I say, once you have a little bit of money, what you want to do is put those little green soldiers out to run out into the world and make you more money. And then at one point, your soldiers are going to make more than you. And then once that happens, you retire. The faster that happens, the better off everybody is.
I love that analogy. I'm going to take it one step further. I'll have people come in and they'll say, I got all my money in cash. I don't want to lose money. And I talk to them about there's 4 risks. I'll just run through them very quickly. The first risk that most people have is to say, I don't want to lose money. Fair enough.
Nobody does.
Nobody wants to lose money. But there's 2 sides of that coin. You don't want to lose money, but you also don't want to lose the opportunity to make money.
Yes.
The third and fourth are inflation and outliving your money, right? But the 2 big ones are losing money and losing the opportunity to make money. So to your point about the generals or your soldiers, is people come in and they'll say, well, I've got all my cash here, it surrounds me, it's taking care of me. And I say, well, who's out on the horizon? Who's fighting for you? Well, they're all right here. I said, listen, you don't need all your soldiers right next to you. You need them out fighting, dying out in the battlefield in some cases, losing money, I guess, to follow the analogy. But you need to have them out there. And the reason is because when I meet with people, they haven't considered the fact that they're going to, a lot of people like say in their 60s, they'll say, oh, I don't know, I got another 10, 15, 20. No, the reality of it is you probably got another 25 to 30 years of rocket sauce left in the tank. You got a number of years, and things just get more and more expensive as you get older. Kids, grandkids, grandkids, health, you want to be able to do something. And the reality of it is I've met with clients, prospects that are 80, 85, 90 years old. I had one, here's a good example. Last year I had a couple come in and husband and wife, both in excellent shape. She's 78, he's 88. And they said, we've had, they're now both in their 80 and 90, I think it is. Anyway, but they both had a lot of their money just sitting in savings and CDs. And they said, we look around and everybody else seems to have a lot of money. Can you tell us why? And I said, well, you know why. And they said, we don't understand. We put our money into stuff that never lost money. And I said, but it lost the opportunity to make money. And so they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, we don't want to go down this road. And they said, no. We want to learn from this. And I said, I mean, look, if you put $100,000 aside in 2000, we could have tripled your money. Anybody could have tripled your money at 10-ish%, or we could have doubled your money 3 times. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, if you get a 10% rate of return every 7 years, you're going to double your money. It's the rule of 72. So from 2000 to 2007, that could have been 200. And then to 14, that could have been 400. And then to 21, that could have been 800. Now, that's very, very, very simple math. And they didn't like that.
It is simple.
But the reality of it is you need to have your warriors out on the battlefield. You need to have some of it there. You need to have some cash, so to speak, some CDs to protect you for what you need. But you need your warriors on the battlefield. And if you can get warriors that aren't even in the battlefield, that are just making you passive income to a degree, that's the best you can get.
Yeah, I do love the passive income. The passive income to me has just been blowing my mind last few years. I've been active income for years, building and flipping and doing all that stuff. Yeah. And since I've been getting into the multifamily, it's just, it's insane. With passive income, you typically don't pay taxes on passive income if you invest in real estate, because the depreciation always comes back to you. It's the coolest thing ever.
And people will tell you it's immoral, illegal, or impossible. They say, no, that's got to be illegal. It's not. We all, as a populace, we all voted for this. If we didn't think it was great, we would have shot it down years ago. Somebody would have gone, and said, I'm deciding that this is not a good idea. No, there's a lot of people that benefit greatly from this, and everybody who does it loves it.
Right, exactly. When you see, I love Trump, but I don't like Trump. So, what happens?
Go down that road.
Well, He's a real estate investor, so that's what I love about him. What I hate him out is his mouth. So when he was in a debate with Clinton, he didn't say it right. You don't pay taxes, and he goes, "Because I'm smart." It's not because I'm smart. It's because the rules have been set up, and he said all the people that set up the rules, the government set up the rules, and the real reason. And he's not a great explainer. No. He says that real estate investors typically don't pay taxes. The reason they don't pay taxes, they don't pay income tax. And the real reason is because the government gives real estate investors, because they pay so much in property tax, income tax rates. It's a better way to describe it. Kiyosoki and him say they don't pay taxes. That's not true. That's not true anywhere. Now, they pay more taxes than more people than anybody ever. If you own real estate, you're paying real estate tax, property tax. But the government gives you an offset for that. And I don't like it when people are, I hate to say it, disingenuous when they make that statement. But it is true. People that in real estate typically don't pay income tax. Yeah. So real quick, wrapping up. Thank you very much. You're the best guest we've ever had.
It wasn't a high bar. So
that's the worst in the same shot. So wrapping up the interview, I want to see what your plans are and what you're working on in the next 6 to 12 months.
Market looks like it's right now. My personal opinion is that there are large parts of the market that are hollow, that the stock market that are hollow. There's a lot of areas that are overvalued and are being propped up by toothpicks and bubble gum. So
I love your analogies. This might be toothpicks and bubble gums. We'll debate between toothpicks and bubble gums, and we'll have it.
So I think the problem that we're going to have is that when you wash the United States with trillions of dollars of free money, and then it bumps up inflation, and now we have to pay the bill, we've kind of set ourselves up for some crazy things on the horizon. But if the market crashes again, and it will, we don't know how hard or how fast, but when it does, we've already kind of used a few of our silver bullets, right? Back to the gunslinger. If the market crashes again, they're most likely not going to hand out free money, because that's kind of what got us back into some problems.
You would hope they wouldn't.
You would hope they wouldn't. So for the next few months, my goal is to try and keep people aware of what things could happen. I want to put them into accounts where you have massive upside potential. Indexed annuities kind of do it. Some of them do it okay. But there's other things like structured notes, structured CDs that vastly reduce the downside, but they offer you leveraged upside. So for example, S&P 500, you could get, 200% up to 58%. So if the market goes up 10 and S&P 500 goes up 10, you go up 20. If the market goes up 30, you cap out at 57%. But on the downside, you lose nothing. So there's a number of different types of investments like that I specialize in. If I can erase some of the downside, people are or mitigate the downside in writing so that they know exactly what's going to happen. They're much more likely to put their money into the market and keep it, especially in times when the market crashes, like it's probably going to do here shortly. So that's my goal, is to try and keep people in the market, keep them making money, and to send them to you to get some
passive income. Yeah, the passive income is awesome. I love it. It's like, hey, protecting people in the market. I mean, I think it's a double threat. You take the upside and really mitigate the downside.
Yes. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. We haven't even talked about some of the point. We can talk about it, but all the time, I can't tell you, I've probably looked at 1,000 different portfolios over the year. Going back to what I was originally saying, I can't believe that people still have things. They've had them for years and years and years, and they love their financial advisor. They love who he is. And I just look at that and I said, you guys have given up. Not all the time, but I just look at, maybe 1 out of 3 times that I look at somebody's portfolio, I just say, your guy's given up. He's totally given up. And they say, well, how do you know that? I thought there was some good things. Well, think of another analogy, a boat analogy. Get a couple of guys at the front of the boat that are pulling hard, they're doing well. Get a couple of guys at the back of the boat pulling the other way, and you got a bunch of guys in the middle that are doing nothing. That's kind of the same thing with funds and stocks. And I can go through very quickly anybody with good experience who wants to do this, who does their research, who has the experience of going through and finding these things, can quickly and easily say, what are you doing with these? Why are you doing this? And that's part of my passion, is to make sure that people don't wind up with stuff that they hold on to it for years, and their financial advisors don't care. They don't care. A lot of people, not everybody, but there's a good portion of people out there. I'm passionate about finding those people because it's so exciting when I can show them what we can do with them. And when they get into the models and they get into things that we do, they just love it because it improves their returns. It lowers their risk. And a lot of times we're much less cost than everybody else. And that's a good place for me to be. That speaks to my inner child, and I sleep well at night. So there it is.
Speaks to your inner child. All right. Hey, George, let's wrap this up. And I want to thank you very much for everything. And if you could just tell people how to get in touch with you, if they want to know any more about how to protect the downsides on assets when it comes to the stock market, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. It was my pleasure to be here.
Tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you meant like in an email or something. Yeah. My name is, again, George Johnson, V8 Investment Advisors. If you go to V8 Investment Advisors with an S on the end.com. So the letter V, like a V8 the drink, but also V8 the engine, V8investmentadvisors.com, or you can email me at george.johnson@CPR Investments. Those are the types of investments that we use. George Johnson at CPRinvestments.com. Or you can call me at 586-980-2522. Again, 586-980-2522. And that's my direct cell line. I give that to everybody. I've been doing that for years, and nobody abuses it. They call me, and that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Well, I'll abuse it. I'll call you at 3:00 in the morning just to harass you. Only because
I might be
her friends.
and I might be actually be awake then. So
I've had guests, and I don't want to tell anybody, we might have to cut this part out. So I'll tell the editors out right about here. But yeah, I have texted George at 1:30 in the morning. Like, what are you doing off? I couldn't sleep, so I had to do something else. So you're like, I'm doing this, or I'm doing this.
Yeah, no.
Money never sleeps, does it?
It doesn't. And things keep up at night.
And that's a good thing, though, man. That's a good thing. Money. Listen, my soldiers are working for me every day.
Yep.
24/7.
Exactly right. All
right, George, I want to thank you very much. I can't express how much I enjoyed this. You're an awesome guest. And if you ever need anything from us, let us know. Signing off on Driven Unscripted Success podcast. If you guys want to know any more, hit us up online or DM us. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.